Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another collective worship. And today it's a very special collective worship because it's Remembrance Day. And so we're going to be speaking a lot about this community and what it might mean to us to go down and visit some of the places that we can in the village, to the War Memorial and into the church, to just remember some of the people that have fought for us on our behalf and on the behalf of our country, our nation, and for peace across the world. So we're going to light our candle as we start our morning worship. It's wonderful that God is with all of us, and when we think of the light, we remember his presence with us right now. The Lord is here. The Spirit is with us. Normally, we'd be able to be sharing our Remembrance Day together, but we're not going to be doing that today. So I'm here in the village by the village war memorial. And on Sunday, during a normal time when there's no pandemic, lots of the village people come down here to remember all of the people who've died. And it's a special, special place. So maybe when you're out having a little wander through the village, you can come here and have a little look at what it says on the war memorial here. It says, "To the glory of God and in proud and affectionate memory of the Goudhurst men who gave their lives for their country and the cause of right and freedom in the Great War of 1914 to 1918. Now, fewer and fewer of you are going to know people or have people in your family who've experienced war. But I bet you if you come and have a look at some of the names on this war memorial, there might be families represented in our village who actually had grandparents and great-grandparents who fought in this great war. We have a poppy as a symbol, which reminds us of the peace that we can find after war and between our nations. It's a way of remembering the sacrifice that many of these men who are written down on this war memorial, the sacrifice that they made for our country. So we've now come back into the church, and as you can see, here is our long list of people who have died from Goudhurst village. And so when we read these out in a moment, we can remember all of those people.
These are the names of the Goudhurst men and one lady who gave their lives for their country in the First World War. Frederick Arnold, Harry Ashdown, Walter Austin, George Baker, Cyril Batchelor,
Alfred Bowtup, Arthur Bellingham, Bertie Blackmore, Ernest Brabham, Percy Brissenden,
Charles Brooks and his brother George Brooks, Gordon Browning, William Burgess, Albert Chenery,
George Chesney, Basil Clark and his brother Stuart Clark, Ernest Carl, John Coleman,
Marjorie Fitzgerald, Alfred Gurr, Frederick Hammond, Bertram Harris, David Hope,
Frederick Jarvis, Albert Kemp, Arthur Kemp, Charles Kemp, Arthur Loder,
Augustus Lovell, Albert Luck and his brother Hugh Luck, George Luck and his brother James Luck,
Charles Maitland and his brother William Maitland, Walter Mitchell, Sidney Osborne, Oliver Page,
Herbert Penfold and his brother Eustace Penfold, Joseph Piper, George Poyle, Thomas Ralph,
Walter Reynolds, Frederick Robbins, William Roth, Ernest Sillitoe, Philip Simmons,
Arthur Sprang, Herbert Stone, Percy Tester, George Vinnell, Charles Vlusden and his brother George Wilston,
William Wilston, Thomas Waghorn, Thomas Wickham, Frederick Wilson, and these are the names of those who fell in the Second World War.
Mervyn Bowles, Arthur Bridgeland, Ronald Aldridge, Raymond Jeffrey, Harry Sargent, and Miriam Vilvandre.
So we've just been down to the War Memorial and seen the names listed there. We've got our roll of honour here, and we can see the poppies being laid down from lots of different organisations around the village here in the church. We've got some poppy wreaths from the Scouts organisations, from the school, and from the Royal British Legion. All of these organisations that are trying to remember those people who died on our behalf. And of course we know that the poppy is a symbol of that peace which we so long for. And the poppies were found all over the fields in Flanders where the people died. And so that was a sign that there is something positive. There is hope beyond war. If we find peace, we can find hope. And we search for hope and we fight for hope. So Adam, a friend of mine, is going to read us a poem. And it's called In Flanders Field. So while you're listening to this, think about how it's making you feel. Think about the words. And think about those people as they went out to fight for this country.
This is a poem by John McCrae called In Flanders Fields. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard amidst the guns below, we are dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. We take our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold in high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
We need to remember that this is the 11th day, and on the 11th hour of this day of the 11th month, that's November, every year we remember and we honour these people and the people from all over our world who died for the sake of war to find peace. How do we find peace? Well, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story about a man called Elijah. And in the Bible, Elijah, he was fleeing from his enemy, fleeing from battle, fleeing from war. And he found himself in a cave. He hid. Like so many people do in war, they try to hide so that no one can see them. He hid in the cave. And as he hid, he knew that God wanted to talk to him. So he heard outside a rumble of thunder. Boom, crash, it was so big. But God wasn't in that noise. Then he saw the lightning and the rain descend outside of the cave. And he thought, well, maybe that's when God is going to speak to me. He's speaking to me through the rain because God is powerful. He's going to deliver me from the hands of my enemies. Maybe it's in all of this loudness that he's going to speak. But God wasn't in that big storm with the lightning and the rain. So as everything abated and the peace descended, Elijah went to the mouth of the cave, and there he could hear the voice of God. You see, God wanted to speak to him, but sometimes it's not in war, it's not in power, it's not in might, it's not in victory. It's in the small things. It's in the times when we really open up our ears and we stop to listen to what God has to say for us. Elijah heard that voice, and it was something that we can learn from, because we find peace in our hearts when we can be still before God. So as we're still before God now, as you enter into this 2-minute silence, that's quite a long time. And your mind might race to something else, and you might think of lots of other things. But maybe you could think, how can I hear God in this silence? What can I do to think about the people who've died? Maybe you know people who have died in your lives as well, and maybe it gives you a chance to think about them as well. So on this 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we stop and we pause and we remember for 2 minutes. Let's do that now. In the Bible, in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 5, it says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Isn't that wonderful? That if we seek peace in our hearts and in our lives, God will bless us. But the question is, how do we make peace between us and other people? What things make us more peaceful? What can we do to be peacemakers? So as we come to a time where our collective worship closes, there are so many things to think about. There are so many ways that you can act to bring peace in our nation. But you are blessed if you search for peace. And God will be with you if you do that, between yourself, your neighbours, your friends, and with your family. So we remember that as we blow out our candle and say goodbye for another week.